What does the word repin mean on Pinterest? Does it mean the same thing as save? Does it have any impact on my Pinterest strategy? This is a question I've been getting in several comments on my videos over the last 6 or 7 months, and I figured it was time for me to record a video. If you are new here, I am Kate All. I own Simple Pin Media, which is a Pinterest marketing agency. We've been doing Pinterest marketing now for 11 years, and I take what I've learned in working with clients and I bring this here to my channel. So if you want more information about Pinterest, just make sure you subscribe. Okay, what does repin mean? All right, let's start with the basics. There is the word repin and there is the word save. Oftentimes people use those interchangeably, which makes people confused. They wonder, are these the same thing? Well, repinning is an action that you take to add another pin to a different board or add a pin to a board. I'm going to talk about the mechanics in a minute, but for a long time it was called repin. But later down the line, Pinterest realized as they were growing globally, that word didn't really fit in other cultures, but the word save did. It all meant the same thing. That you were essentially saving a pin to a board, or you were repinning a pin to a board. So essentially it is the same action. There's just a way that Pinterest marketers and even regular Pinterest users use it interchangeably. Maybe it's a little bit of hanging on to the past and how we used to use that word, but there are a little bit of nuances that lead people to still use it today. So what does saving a pin mean? Saving a pin simply means that you add a pin to Pinterest in 2 ways. One, you can take an image and you can upload it to Pinterest. When you hit the plus sign, you can add a pin. When you do that, then you can fill out all the necessary information on the pin, like the pin title, the pin description, and where you would like that particular pin to go. Or you can go on to Pinterest and you will find a particular pin that you like, and what you'll see in the upper right-hand corner is the save button. And then you're allowed to save it to a board of your choosing. Here's an example. If I am on Pinterest and I am scrolling through the main home feed and I find something I really want to remember or I want to visit later, I will save that pin to my board. I'm saving it because I find it valuable. And that's what we want as business owners who are using Pinterest marketing. We want the user on the platform to find our content so valuable that they save it to their board. Also, quick little tip that you should know. Pinterest sees this particular action as one of the most important that a user can take on the platform because it tells them what this particular user is interested in. So if you're saving things about a vacation, if you're saving things about a home improvement project, or you're saving products about skincare, this allows the platform to know what it is you're interested in so they can curate your home feed, your smart feed that they see, that you see when you open up the Pinterest app. So simply this, think of saving as posting something to Instagram or adding a Facebook post. It's essentially the same thing. You are adding something to the mix by saving it to your board, or you're saving someone else's pin. We're going to talk about that whole other people's content in just a minute. So what is repinning? Well, I actually just told you a second ago. So remember that whole idea of me scrolling through my feed and I find something and I save it to my board? That is essentially repinning the existing pin. So it's taking something that was already there and pinning it again. Now that's how a user does it. Let's say you are a business and you have a particular piece of content that you create a Pinterest image for. You pin that or save it to your board on the platform. Then if you want to save it to another board on your profile, you can do that as well too. That is called repinning a pin. Oftentimes we don't use the word save a pin again when it doesn't sound right. So people will say, I repinned this to other boards. Is that okay? While I don't want to get too in the weeds because we want to keep it high level with repinning and saving, it is important for you to note that this is okay. It is okay for you to save a pin again or repin a pin to another board. Now there's a lot of details about how you can do this and people will get into semantics of of scheduling it versus manually pinning it. We're not going to get into that today. I just want you to see the actual action is if you have it on your profile and you want to put it on another board, oftentimes people will call that repinning. So why does any of this matter for your business? Why is it important that you know the difference between repinning and saving? Well, number one, what I alluded to in the beginning is that saves are a really important metric. In fact, you should track them in your business at least one time per month. You can find the number of them inside your Pinterest analytics, inside your Pinterest business account. Side note, if you are using Pinterest for business, you must have a business account. That is per their terms of service. Plus, you get a lot of great benefits with having a business account. So make sure you do that. I'll leave a link below so you can figure out how to convert your personal account to a business account. The second is that oftentimes people will have a great piece of content. They will save it once to Pinterest. And sometimes I caught myself there, but I will use the word share it to Pinterest. They all mean the same thing. I am saving it to Pinterest. Let's say it's really awesome and it gets a lot of great engagement. Some people are asking, should I save it again? Now, the working theory that we've seen out there is that when you save something again, it is okay. It doesn't violate it, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to continue to get great engagement. Oftentimes what we see is that the second, third, fourth time you save a pin again, kind of decreases in engagement. That means the very first pin you save to the platform is often called fresh content or fresh pin. It is a really great piece of new content. It's never been shared before on Pinterest, and Pinterest loves that. They love new, fresh content. But if you're saving it again, it's kind of like, oh, well, we've seen this before. Okay, we'll kind of distribute it, but not as much. Oh, we've seen this a third time. We've seen this a fourth time. So it might not get as much engagement, but it's still important for your business to know that you don't just have to put it on one board, but if it also fits on another board, that's okay for you to share it again. Save it again. See, I keep getting stuck on this too. It's okay for you to save it to another board. Again, there's some tactical pieces that we could go into as far as like how many times you should do it, how many days in between. That's a whole nother video. But what I want you to take away from this is that if you are saving it again, if you are repinning it again, that is okay. Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but this is something that I don't always talk about in every video, so I want to make sure you know. We have a Pinterest keyword planning guide that covers over 10 plus categories and niches. It has so much information there that will not only inspire you to use new Pinterest keywords, but also might help you inspire creating content. So what's inside? We have tons and tons of pages of keyword ideas, how to use and not use keywords, some seasonal and non-seasonal keyword ideas, plus a place to brainstorm and take notes. And it's yours totally free. Click on the link below in the description to get the free keyword guide and begin getting started on really creating a great SEO plan for Pinterest. Okay, back to the video. All right, here's some of those questions that have come from the comments section. Somebody asked, what is the benefit to repinning other people's pins? This is a great question that I get all the time. Should I repin other people's pins? What I like to tell people is you want to evaluate on a couple levels. One, it is not a requirement. So let's say there's a social media platform out there, and this is the case in the past where they would say, we want you to share a lot of other people's content and then just a little bit of your own. There were lots of ratios thrown around, 80-20, 20-80. People were trying to figure out how they could post a version of an amount of other people's content in addition to their own content. That is not the case with Pinterest. You can post 100% of your own content. It is okay. So the only benefit that I see is, one, if you're in a community with colleagues that you want to share their content and you're very closely aligned, sometimes people will have Facebook groups for this, or Tailwind Communities helps facilitate this. If you are doing this, just make sure everybody is doing it. So oftentimes there's not reciprocity. It's like somebody will share it, but then somebody else won't, or they'll put it on a crappy board. It just gets kind of crazy. Also remember, when you're in those sharing groups or repin groups, that might not be your ideal person that you're trying to target on Pinterest. So is there any benefit of that person saving your pin to their board or repinning your pin? Maybe not. The other reason you want to save or repin other people's content is to build up a little little bit of your boards, to add more content so that it looks a little fuller, or you have content to support anybody coming to the board that is actually going to peruse through the particular pins on the board. This doesn't happen very often, but if you don't want 1 or 2 pins just on a board, you can add a few more. But if you don't want to pin other people's pins, that is perfectly okay. Here's question number 2. If a pin violates Pinterest terms and conditions, will it affect my profile? This is also a question we get a lot from our email readers. They're worried that what if I pin something on accident and it ends up being spam, or it ends up being really crappy AI content that Pinterest doesn't like? Is it going to affect my profile? Most often not. It's really just looking at the individual pin. They want to make sure that there are really great pins on the platform, really great content. And if something's not good, it will get removed because it's either violating the terms of service, it could be stolen content, or it's not actually helpful content to the platform. So we have never heard of a story of it negatively impacting the actual person who pinned it. That can happen on accident all the time. It really just affects the actual pin. But here are some tips. 1, check the source. Before you're saving something to your board or repinning to your board, just go ahead and click on the pin and go to the website. Do you find it valuable? Do you think it's really great? Would you want other people seeing this particular pin? If the answer is yes, then you're in the clear. But if you go there and this particular site is just all text hammered with ads, you definitely know that they are trying to just get a quick click, then you might not want to save it. Bottom line, be mindful when you're pinning other people's content. The last question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages to repinning other people's content? I alluded to a few of them a second ago, but let's go over them in detail. 1, the advantages. It keeps your account active. It keeps your account engaging. And some people believe that by pinning other people's content that is getting good engagement, it will help their account. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's not true. But for those that are making it work, keep doing what you're doing. 2, adding really great quality content to the platform. If you find something out in the internet that you think is amazing that is not on Pinterest and you want to add it, save it to your board. It always helps everyone when there is great content on Pinterest. The other advantage, and kind of the last one that I was talking about before, is if you're in a group of colleagues and you really want to support each other, this is a great way to show support. It's just saying, I really love your content. I really love your business or your products. I want to share more of it. Disadvantages. So one of the disadvantages to repinning a bunch of other people's content is that you're really only repinning their content and not yours. So the engagement can be really reliant on other people and not as much your own, which is not driving traffic to your website. The other disadvantage is you might be one of those people that shares that spammy content, and Pinterest doesn't want more of that on the platform. But like I said, it doesn't put your account at risk, but it's adding more junk to the platform that doesn't need to be there. The takeaway from that is repinning is actually really helpful and great, but it's best when it's coming from your website, when you can add fresh pins to the platform of your products and your content. That makes Pinterest this really amazing place for users. Okay, I hope that cleared that up for you. Now that you know the difference between saving and between repinning, know that this is a really important thing for you to do on the platform. When you are saving content or products to Pinterest, that is a really great way to get exposure for your content or your products and grow your business. I'm hoping that this answered many of your questions that you've had about repinning and whether or not you should do it. Don't get worried about the words meaning anything different. They don't. They are essentially the same. Drop a comment below if you have more questions, and don't forget to like and subscribe.